Welcome to Wednesday Words of Wisdom with Coach Hawkins. I can't begin to tell you how pleased I am to be able to share with you again some words of inspiration and encouragement to help us while we're still in our distance learning and shelter-in-place environment. But before I begin, I just want to let you know how pleased I was to see all of you over the last 2 days as you cleaned out your lockers. You couldn't see it, but I was smiling very proudly underneath my mask. I believe we're down to the final 6 days of the 2020 school year. So we want you to finish strongly, continue doing great jobs that you have been doing. We are expecting great things from you. For today's episode, I want to talk to you about being thankful or thankfulness. Someone once said, along my journey, I've learned that the more thankful I am, the more I have to be thankful for. And that really speaks power, is that when I understand that I am thankful, then I see opportunities to be even more thankful. Regardless of its size, life's unexpected stresses have the way of really pulling our attention down, and we forget how thankful we should be or how we could be thankful. I wrote this down. I said, if we're going to successfully travel the stresses of life, it will be in our interest to do so in the vessel of thankfulness. Paul the Apostle knew this, and he wrote in the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5, verses 16 through 18. He says, rejoice always, verse 16. Verse 17 says, pray continually. And then verse 18 says, in all things give thanks. Or it's another translation says, give thanks in all circumstances. Now, at face value, just reading that might raise an eyebrow or give you a type of attitude. But many times people misunderstand this verse, because what Paul doesn't say is be thankful for the circumstance. See, there's a big distinction between being thankful in the circumstance and being thankful for the circumstance. See, to be thankful for the circumstance is to say, I'm glad that this problem came upon me, which no one would dare do that. I would not even encourage you to do that. But I would encourage you to be thankful in the situation. See, because thankfulness is not about happiness. See, happiness is based upon the word happenstance, which is purely between something happening to you. For example, if something good happens, you are happy. If something bad happens, you are unhappy. See, that's not what thankfulness is. Thankfulness has the disposition that I am thankful in the situation. Let me carry this a little bit further. Unfortunately, I don't know if you know or not, but my stepdad passed away on Palm Sunday, and it was COVID-19 related. When we got word he was sick, he was immediately taken to the hospital, and just a few days later, he had passed away. He'd married my mom just about 11 years ago, so I'd only known him for 11 years. But I want to tell you, in those 11 years, I'd come to know him and love him just as if he were my biological father. So his passing was tough for our family. But we were thankful in the situation. You see, because I had opportunity to know him for 11 years. While I'm still hurt, I'm not thankful for him passing, but I'm thankful I got to know him. I got to share part of my life with him. He was a great man, and I will miss him dearly. So that's a distinction that I want to give clarity to. When I want you to be thankful for the problem, I want you to be thankful in the problem, all right, or in the situation. So what does it mean to be thankful? The first thing I want to tell you is this. Thankfulness is a principle. And what I mean by principle, I mean it's a rule of life. It's a standard of living. That when we understand that it's a principle, we'll be able to act upon the principle more and see better results in our life. I can even sum it up this way. Here's the principle. The more thankful you are, the less negative you will be. Okay? So we have the opportunity to, in a situation, to be thankful. Okay? It is a choice. It is not an emotion. See, emotions are easy. They're what happens to you, and you emote from there. That's where the word emotion comes from, right? So you're emoting. But no, to be thankful goes beyond emotions. It literally taps into it being a choice. See, no matter where you are, you have power. And because of the power you have, you get to make the choice. You can make the choice whether you're going to talk about the situation negatively, or you're going to be sad or whatever, or you're going to be thankful in the situation. It's your choice. So what are you going to choose today? All right? So Oprah Winfrey said this, being thankful for what you have, you end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. All right? The second thing I'm going to give you is this. Thankfulness operates on appreciation and not depreciation. In other words, when I understand the principle of thankfulness, I operate on appreciation. I add value, right? It adds value. That's what the word appreciate means, to add value, right? So when I'm thankful, it adds value to my life, and not only to my life, but it adds value to those around me. When I'm unthankful, that pulls away from life. That sucks away. So if you're going through a situation, you're going through a circumstance right now, the more unthankful you are in the situation, not for the situation again, but the more unthankful you are, the more you're pulling away from your own life. The more you're pulling away life from your own self, if I can say it that way, right? So be thankful, appreciate, and see what's going on, and appreciate what you've had while you were in this situation. Again, I appreciate my dad. I appreciate him for the 11 years that we had him in our lives. All right. Here's number 3. Thankfulness is internal. It is not external. In other words, thankfulness is not driven by what happens around you. Thankfulness is not driven by the circumstance outside of you. Thankfulness comes from inside. It comes from the heart. It comes from the essence of who we are. We make the choice, we settle it in our hearts, and then we begin to live it out. All right. So I have 3 things about thankfulness being internal, and it has to deal with the way we see things. Because when we're thankful, it addresses the way we see things on 3 different perspectives. The first perspective is our perception. All right. It affects how we see things. It's how we interpret things. Okay. The second thing is that thankfulness affects our perceptive, our perception, right? Our perception and our perspective, our perspective. It's your point of view, okay? It's your perception, how you see it, and then your perspective is your point of view. And then the third thing it affects is your prospective, your forward vision, right? So 3 things again: your perception, your perspective, and your prospective, how you're seeing things in the future. So when I'm thankful, it taps into my past, it hits my future, my present, and then it hits my future. Okay? Thankfulness will cover all 3 barriers. It covers all 3 grounds. So when we're unthankful, those grounds are then more impactful in our lives, as opposed to being thankful and we see the future. We see what's ahead of us. Here's the 4th thing I want to give you is this. Thankfulness is a buffer. That as we are thankful, thankfulness begins to buffer around us and begins to act as if it's a shield. Not that we will never have any difficult days or have any problems. Not that we won't cry or not have any struggles. But yet we'll be buffeted by thankfulness, right? That thankfulness will wrap around us and will guard us and will protect us. That we're just being thankful. And then the final thing I'm going to share with you is this: thankfulness unlocks the fullness of life. That as we begin to understand that we are thankful in the situation, it begins to unfold the fullness of life. I want to tell you a quick story about a young man named William Borden. In 1904, William Borden was given a trip around the world by his father. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Borden Milk. Well, this is the founders of the Borden Milk Company. So William Borden in 1904 was heir to the empire of Borden Milk, all right? And so his father gives him a trip around the world when he's 16 years old. He's now traveling to Asia and Africa and many countries. And he discovers that he has a heart for those who are less fortunate. And he goes home to his dad at 16, and he tells his dad when he's ready to leave, he's not going to go into the family business, but he's going to go into the mission field. And at that time, he takes his Bible and he writes in his Bible, "No reserves." Well, he goes to Yale, he graduates from Yale, and he goes to Princeton Seminary. And while he's at Yale and at Princeton, he does some wonderful things, noted for his great leadership skills and his ability to care for people. And he does some great things. He writes then at that time, after he graduates from Princeton, he gets his Bible, writes 2 more words down: "No retreats." And after graduation from Princeton, he starts his missionary work. And as preparation, he goes to Egypt, and he's living in Egypt for a time, and he contracts spinal meningitis. And unfortunately, within a month of contracting spinal meningitis, William Borden passes away. Before he passed away, he wrote 2 additional words in the back of his Bible. And those 2 words were "no regrets." You see, when we live a thankful life, when we're thankful for what we have, when we're thankful for all that's in our lives, not thankful for the problem, but we're thankful in the problem, we're thankful in the circumstance, it allows us to live a life of no reserves. It allows us to live a life of no retreats. And it will allow us to live a life of no regrets. So Bruins, take that and let that sit in your heart and settle in your heart, that you can appreciate and begin to evaluate yourself and begin to see yourself being thankful. Again, not for the situation, but in the situation. All right, Bruins, until we see you next Wednesday,